Hello and welcome to the Hockenheim ring in Germany for round 4 of the FIA European Drag Racing Championship.
Yeah, it's also round 4 for the UEM drag bikes as well. We've got absolutely thousands of people packing the stands here in Baden-Württemberg in southwest Germany. It's been a wonderful, wonderful weekend so far. The track's been a little bit tricky, to say the least, though.
But the sun is out, so everyone's in a good mood. Let's head straight to the action.
Well, this weekend at Hockenheim has had absolutely everything, including huge crowds, beautiful sunshine and the weather, but unfortunately the racing surface really hasn't been its best this weekend, it's fair to say, at Hockenheim. Due to that, a number of the FIA classes it was decided would not run. That includes FIA Top Fuel, FIA Pro Modified, Pro Stock and Top Methanol Funny Car as well. We're going to see Top Methanol Dragster eliminations and all the UEM bikes as well. We're going to see some great action from them, but just sadly, for this weekend only, not everybody is going to be racing. Well, we're getting set ready to go with round 1 of UEM Top Fuel bike. Those are your first round pairings. And the first one we're going to be seeing is that man right there, Ian King, on the Gulf Oil Puma. Now, this racetrack has been very tricky indeed this weekend. He's up against Kai Selkämä from Finland in round 1. Ian, with a very soft clutch setting, smokes the tyre 100 foot out or so, but still gets there. That was a very close race, much closer than we thought it was going to be, to be honest with you. The right-hand lane has had the advantage. You can see Ian clearly pull out in the lead, but spun the tyre, and Kai Selkämä nearly got him at the finish line.
Obviously, everybody thinks that the left-hand lane isn't as good as the right. Congratulations, Kai, you got down the left lane very well.
Yeah, Ian won on a hole shot for the first time since I can't remember when.
We needed the hole shot, but that's what Ian's, that's part of the job. That's what he's there to do.
Yeah, the riders do something on these bike, folks, apart from hang on and shut their eyes, honestly. Just kidding. This is René van der Berg, brand new Puma bike, built by Ian King's company up there in the Netherlands by Gerard Willems, but unfortunately he was #1 qualifier out before the racing starts here in round 1. This is Peter Svensson, European record holder with the Billet Racing starter machine from Sweden, and Peter, with a lot of tyre spin off the start line, only goes 9.70, but most importantly he's going to be into the semi-finals. You can see not just tyre smoke but almost drifting on that run. And what have you actually done to the bike to try and get it down the racetrack as well? I mean, you've got a real tough draw in the semi-finals. You've got Ian King.
Well, you know, we should try to take away half the engine of the bike if we're going down on the left side. But well, we'll see what we can do. We start on high gear and see if it goes great.
It must be very tricky as well. You've got one of the most powerful top fuel bikes in the world, and let's just say this isn't the most powerful racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and yeah, the conditions are we have to do the very best of it.
Well, making the best of it. Win lights always count no matter how quick you run. So he's into the semi-final draw against Ian King. And your next pair out, left-hand side of your screen there, that's Steve Willett from the UK up against Rickard Gustafsson with the Turbo Funny bike. Would you believe it's the top fuel bike that has no trouble getting down the racetrack? 7.07, low ET of the weekend so far for Steve Willett. Rickard Gustafsson with smoke and spin off the start line. That's his weekend done. You've done a pretty good job of getting down the racetrack. I think you got low ET of the weekend so far in top fuel bike. How have you done it?
Well, we paid attention to the Bulldog Bash, and we've got some settings to get. It's a tricky track, but we can get down it. And we're just trying to string it together and get through this one and make it to the final, and who knows? Well,
you got to the final last year against Peter Svensson. If you can do that again, maybe you can get your own back.
Yeah, well, last year we brought the British weather, so, you know, we didn't have a final because it rained, so we've left it at home this time.
Yeah, you can see hardly a cloud in the sky behind Steve Willett that time round, showing that summer is definitely here in Hockenheim in Germany. Last pair in the semi-finals of top fuel bike, first round of top fuel bike. Right-hand side you're seeing Otto Kniebel with the Imperial Wizard from the Czech Republic up against Nils Lagerlöf from Sweden with one of those great turbo funny bikes. Nils goes 7.22. The laps, times and speeds not quite as quick as we're used to seeing. I see on board with Otto launches slightly to the right, and that's the end of his day. But lap times and speeds not quite what we're used to, but the racing is still very close and very good indeed. So we've already seen Peter Svensson against Ian King. The other side of the ladder, Steve Willett and Nils Lagerlöf. and it's to that first semi-final pair we go. Peter Svensson and Ian King rolling out in front of this huge crowd at the huge stadium in Hockenheim in Germany. Left-hand lane is going to be Peter Svensson, the less favoured lane, it has to be said, up against Ian King. You can see lots of clutch dust off of Ian's bike and a bit of tyre smoke as well, but he is out in front. Peter Svensson drifts out the groove, takes out the finish line blocks, but the first 6 of the weekend, 6.85 to Ian King. He's into the final. Well, what a great onboard shot that is within. You can see him clearly pulling away. And Peter Svensson doing a great job just to hang on to the bike there.
We needed that. We needed that bad. Peter's good. Looking at it, he wasn't having trouble getting down track. I was worried.
Well, Mick Beaumont there. One of Ian King's long-time crew guys, great bloke, and good to see all of them in the final. So can it be an all-British final? Far lane, Steve Willett with the dealer up against the last turbo funny bike, left standing, Niels Lagerlöf, and Niels smokes the tyre in, well, pretty spectacular fashion, it has to be said. It's going to be Steve Willett up against Ian King in the final. 7.15, big speed as well, 342 kilometres an hour. Well, Steve, the last couple of weeks have been pretty good for everybody in the Olympics, and this time at the Nitro Olympics, 2 British guys in the final as well. What are you going to do to beat him?
Well, we've stepped it up a little bit, but, you know, it's a real tricky track, so we've got to be careful we don't end up beating ourselves, you know. So the crew's been working, excuse me, the crew's been working really hard this weekend, you know, and been trying to work this track out. It's a roll of the dice.
Ian, well, so far out of all the bike classes, you've got low ET. You've done the best job of getting down the racetrack. How have you done it?
Well, it's a combination of having a fantastic crew that know how to tune a bike for, well, what I say, challenging tracks, and a bit of luck mixed in there as well, and just me finding the right throttle position on the way down the track. I mean, it's hard to put your finger on it.
Well, the 2 that are doing the best job so far are both from the UK, and it's Ian King and Steve Willett for all the money. So the bikes are fired, the guys are just finishing suiting up and getting set ready to go. These bikes produce somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 brake horsepower, and the crews and all of them have spent a great amount of time trying to come to grips with getting the clutch settings and everything right to get down this Hockenheim quarter mile here this weekend. So left-hand lane is the dealer. First time he's been in the left-hand lane on race day, up against Ian King. Let's see what Steve Willett can do in the left-hand lane up against the Puma Golf Machine. Ian King smokes the tyre. Looks like it's Steve Willett out in front. Indeed he is, but Ian King's still going. And it's Ian King just at the finish line. Wow, that was very, very close indeed. If you look at the numbers, they were very close at the finish line. Ian, probably one of the toughest wins you've ever had, but probably one of the most gratifying as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Steve's a great racer, and we knew that him and Phil and his whole team would be on their game, and they were. I mean, they ran pretty well in that left-hand lane. That's the trickiest lane of all. You know, it could almost be a foregone conclusion before that he'd go up in smoke. Now it turned out it was me, you know, but it was a hard job, but my team did a fantastic job.
What's it like on the bike, trying to feather like 1,000, 1,500 horsepower down a racetrack when it's spinning the back tyre? Obviously, it's not like the cars. You haven't got, you know, 4 wheels. It must be much more difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're obviously conscious of the fact the bike's moving around at the back, and because it's spinning so fast, it's really like it's just on a piece of ice. You just twist your body slightly, and it really will swerve out. So you have to be very, very careful in the way in which you move your body around. I punched second gear early, or high gear, to try and calm it down a bit, but unfortunately it just made it worse. So it was tight, and when we crossed the line I really didn't know who'd won, and we had to wait until the crew came up and told us who the final winner was. But I think for what's going on here this weekend, it was a good advertisement, if you like, for motorcycle drag racing in Europe.
Well, totting up the points after this round of the UEM Championship, Ian King with quite a substantial lead over Niels Lagerlöf from Sweden with 2 rounds left to go. Well, top Methanol Dragster are racing today. These are how the quarterfinals stack up in that class. So great race day crowd here at Hockenheim in Germany. That's Werner Habermann, team dad to his sons, Timo and Dennis. This is Dennis Habermann, first round bye run. Let's see what Dennis can lay down. 6:34, 389 kilometers an hour. He'll be into the semi-final, obviously. But who will he be racing, most importantly? And we're going to find out in just one moment. The crowd very appreciative of all the Germans racing in top Methanol Dragster this weekend. Here's his brother, that's Timo. And Timo's round one draw is up against Chris Polidano from the beautiful island of Malta. Now, Chris had a bit of a crew change recently. The previous car owner and crew chief, Derek Flynn, out for the rest of the season after an event win and a couple of records. It's Jerry Durian tuning the car this weekend, but the track very tricky for everyone. And Timo goes through into the semi to race his brother. Great stuff for the home crowd. You can see the A fuel car blaze the tyres away from the start line. And it was all Timo after that. Timo did smoke the tyres as well, but most importantly for him, got to the other end first.
Good to see both of your boys into the semi-final together, and in front of the home crowd too.
Yes, it was better in the final. So, okay, number 1 and number 4 comes in the semi-final. I think we see a good semi-final, Timo and Dennis. Dennis have lane choice. I think Dennis have a little bit, yeah.
And what have you changed on the cars, or what are you doing with the cars to get them down the racetrack this weekend?
The problem is, if you have a bad track like this, you must make the setup. Yeah, and the drivers must work a little bit with the head. You can do it. You see it. Timo and Dennis is the youngest in the class, or make a very good job.
Well, very good job so far. They're both through to the semi, and they're both racing each other. Next out, this is Manti Bugaya. Manti was supposed to be racing against Christian Hansen, who didn't make the call for round one. 6:84, 3:63. He's into the semis.
What are you actually doing to the car to get it down the racetrack? You nearly made it off the start line that time.
I think it's called hope and pray.
Really, just take as much out as you can.
Yeah, obviously it's very tricky for everyone, and I don't know what to say. It really is a bit of a lottery, and we're trying to take it out, but trying to also stay one of the faster ones here.
Well, the next race in round one was due to be this man here, Peter Schofer, up against Dave Wilson. Dave Wilson with the A fuel car not making the call for round one. Peter Schofer nice and gingerly off the start line as to not spin the tyres. Goes through the 6:23, 394 kilometres an hour. Big speed for the TMD called Bavarian Thunder. Times and speed slightly slower again than we'd expect to see, but they're all out there racing. Dennis and Timo on one side, Manti Bugaya against Peter Schofer on the other side of the ladder. So the crowd anxiously awaiting our semi-finals in top Methanol Dragster. Left-hand side of your screen, that there is Manti Bugaya from Malta up against the local boy, local old boy if you like, Peter Schofer, Bavarian Thunder in the far side of the racetrack. And the best job of pedalling goes to Peter Schofer. 6:83, 365 kilometres an hour. Unfortunately for Manti, it's the end of his weekend, but by the looks of how this is stacking up, he could well leave with the points lead, which for him and his team is the most important thing. Yeah, big tyre spin for Manti all over the place. Same problem for Peter Schofer, but he did keep his boot in it. So that will mean we will have an all-German final. We've got one half with Peter Schofer. The other half will be one of these two, Timo or Dennis. Dennis in the far lane. Timo spins the tyres at the hit of the throttle. It's going to be Dennis up against Peter Schofer in the final. Goes through with a 6:25. He will have lane choice for that all-important final round bout.
It wasn't a really close side-by-side race, but it was still a great show for the fans.
Yes, it was very close. Timo make a little bit too much, so go up and smoke. Or Dennis make a perfect job. Both make a perfect job. Dennis have the better line, have lane choice. That was the different. So perfect for Dennis. Go on a throttle to the right.
Well, you still got a good chance to win the event as well.
I don't know. Let's see what the lane choice says on the final. I think the lane choice have to win in the final.
So it's Dennis Habermann and Peter Schofer, the young gun, against one of the old guys for the TMD trophy.
Dennis, you've raced your brother many, many times, but I think the crowd wouldn't have minded whichever one of you got the victory that time.
Oh, it was a shame that we didn't met in the final, you know, because it's our home race, and we have been both really fast on the weekend.
But yeah, that's how it is when you run the first round, you know. I lost many times against Timo. Now we give everything to win the final. I mean, I think it's an all-German final, but we won't have it in the Werner Habermann Racing team, you know.
Well, Dennis, a young man from Germany, sounded very confident indeed. The car's getting positioned, and he's getting all of his safety stuff strapped in and ready to go. Timo with the last few words of encouragement before his brother gets strapped into the car. This is Peter Schofer. It almost looked like he was taking out his wooden leg there. Getting into the car, I know exactly what that is. That keeps the clutch in place, so when they're moving the car around, the driver doesn't have to keep his foot on the pedal, because otherwise you have to do that all the time. And trust me from experience, it really aches after a while. So, who's going to take all the miles in top Methanol Dragster? The far lane, Dennis Habermann. Near lane, Peter Schofer. While almost instant tyre spin in that left-hand lane for Peter Schofer, it will be Dennis Habermann with low ET of the weekend, 6:02, 402 kilometres an hour. He takes the win.
I'm down here with two very happy Habermans, one younger one elder Habermann. How cool is it to see your brother win the NitrolympX?
It's totally cool. I mean, he really deserved it. He was #1 qualifier here. I mean, he has worked very hard after his crash in Finland, and we are so proud of him. He did a perfect job all the weekend. We are so happy. We are so happy that everybody's here. We have so many fans.
The problem was in the semi-final, one of the Habermann must go out, or we are happy that Dennis win. Now it's perfect.
And does this really mean that you can challenge for the title as well? Do you think that Dennis can take this now in the last couple of races and really make a challenge for the championship?
Yeah, we can, but I think the championship is over for us. So we decided not going more than for the championship. But we know we can do it, you know, and that's very important. But we are happy now, and it's perfect.
Well, as Germany celebrates, it is Mansi Bugaya in top spot in top Methanol Dragster. But even though they're not going for the championship, Dennis is now #2. So this would be the round 2 pairings for Pro Stock Bike. Fredrik Friedland gets by, and a couple of other great matchups coming up as well. So this is Fredrik Friedland from the wonderful island of Åland in the middle of the sea between Sweden and Finland, out there on his own. Still tricky for every car or bike getting down this racetrack, but the Pro Stockers doing a good job. 7:30, 301 kilometres an hour.
Now, what are you guys doing to get Fredrik's bike down the racetrack? Because that 7.2 yesterday was almost amazing.
Yeah, we felt a bit like a lucky punch, but we've been taking a lot of ignition out of it, a lot of it. And he's working the throttle the way down the track, and you don't do that, but we have to do it here.
Well, it's working very, very well indeed. Just taking it nice and easily off the start line, then feeding the power as he goes down. Like Rasmus says, Rasmus sadly not racing this year, helping out his friend Fredrik Friedland. But 7.2 was really a stellar job for that team. So, next pair out going to be from the UK, that man right there, Martin Bishop. Having trouble starting the bike. No, it's going to be a solo for Kalle Loren, would you believe? Martin Bishop absolutely gutted. Great run in the first round, good qualifying times as well, and he's out early on in elimination. So it will be Kalle Loren, goes 7:43, 293 kilometres an hour, not quite as quick as Fredrik Friedland. And that's who will be racing in the semi-final. Okay, your last pair in round 2. That man right there, Ulf Erger, looking for the championship again. The Bike Line Buell from southern Sweden up against the Uroil V-twin of Gert-Jan Lesueur in the near lane, and Gert-Jan whole shots Ulf by a big, big margin. Can he run him down? The answer is no. If you do the math on those times, it was about 100th of a second at the finish line. You can see the huge lead that Gert-Jan Lesueur got off the start line. Out the corner of his eye, Ulf Erger can see him. He's running him down, but just runs out of racetrack. So, Fredrik Friedland against Kalle, and Gert-Jan, by virtue of that win over Ulf Erger, gets a bye into the final. Well, just trickling down the racetrack for Gert-Jan Lesueur on his semi-final bye. I do happen to know as well that it was a throttle cable problem, and he was very lucky that no one was in the other lane. Most importantly, Stage got the green light, got an elapsed time, although it was only 26 seconds, but it all counts. And he will be facing one of these two for all the marbles in Pro Stock Bike. So, marquee matchup this time round. Two guys really looking for the championship this summer. Frederick Freeland, I like to call that the biker's prayer. He always does that. Gets himself set on the bike, bends down, hunches down, just collects his thoughts before he goes up against Kalle Loren. And it is a whole shot by the looks of it just for Frederick Freeland. With a horsepower in that bike, that could be the end of Kalle's day. Indeed it is.
We took the ignition out and just did a little bit to the clutch, not much. And we're just super happy about it. Frederick, he's doing a great job this weekend.
Well, you're up against Gert-Jan Lesueur in the final, and Gert-Jan just run through, so you're going to get lane choice as well.
Yeah, we're happy about that because we need the right lane. We really do.
Your finalists in UEM Pro Stock Bike right here. First of all, Frederick Freeland, #1 qualifier, been down in the 7.2s. I bet you didn't think you'd be doing that at the start of the weekend.
No, definitely. We come here on Friday and saw the track. We were all okay, this is going to be a tough one, but we tried to do the best of the situation, and luckily we go down to 7.2, so we are pleased, and my team is all working hard. So.
Your final opponent, Gert-Jan Lesueur. Now, is this your first final?
Yeah, first final, yeah.
How long have you been racing in Pro Stock Bike and waiting for a day like today where you're in a final at a big race?
2009. Since 2009 I raced. So, but I've never been in the final, so this is going to be the first.
So looking forward to that race and confirmation of it. For all the marbles in Pro Stock Bike, Frederick Freeland and Gert-Jan Lesueur. So it's Netherlands against kind of Finland. I think that's Frederick's own explanation of where Åland is. It's an island in the sea between Sweden and Finland, but they speak Swedish even though they belong to Finland. How strange is that? Anyway, here we go then. Heads up drag race to the finish line for the money. And it's Gert-Jan Lesueur that gets out in front. Indeed, he is out in front at the moment, but the horsepower of the PAF Play Amongst Friends bike in the far lane shows. Look at that, 7.18. Low elapsed time of the weekend. And Frederick takes the win. Gert-Jan Lesueur did everything he could, but it wasn't enough. Well, Frederick, when we started out yesterday, did you ever think you were going to run as quick as 7.1 and win the race?
Honestly, no. But the track come together, and we saw that we can go more and more power-wise on the track. But a 7.1, that was we didn't think about that.
A couple of other guys went out early, and you went all the way through, so it was going to help.
Yeah, definitely. It makes good for us. We keep the championship alive, and we gain a lot of points of the two in front of us. So it's going to be fun to see the next 2 races of the season, what we can do.
It certainly will. He is in 3rd spot, but only by less than 1 round out of 1st place. It's going to be interesting in Pro Stock Bike. So we're also going to be showing you UEM Super Street Bike. This is how the quarterfinals shape up. And a huge entry of bikes here in Hockenheim this weekend. Basically, these are turbo, nitrous, whatever you like. The big limiting factor is the tiny, itsy-bitsy little street tyre on the back of them. Furthest from the camera is Sotris Takiris from Greece up against Brad O'Connor in the near lane. And it is the guy all the way from Greece, goes 8.73, 2.31. Brad O'Connor with traction trouble on a tricky racetrack. It's very difficult to get anything on a street tyre down it. You'd think that street tyres would have more grip. They don't on a prepped racetrack. That's what makes it very, very difficult for these guys indeed. So your next pair is going to be both from the UK. Graham Bouchin, Steve Mead. Graham Bouchin, far lane, won the FIA main event earlier on in the year in Super Street Bike, ran in some fantastic numbers. Not quite as quick as that this weekend here in Hockenheim, but he's out there in front most importantly. Steve Mead, lots of engine trouble over the weekend, goes 12 seconds, but Graham Bouchin with another low 8-second pass at a huge speed moves on to the semis. Okay, next pair out is going to be Eric Gruber against Stefan Schmidt. Stefan Schmidt on the right-hand side of your screen there, or now left-hand side as well. Both, again, with traction problems away from the line. And then Eric Gruber sits up on his bike. It's going to be, it's almost a slow drag race to the finish line. I beg your pardon, it was Eric Gruber that took the win in that race. Almost like a bracket race, that one. They were trying to miss the cones and miss each other as well. Last pair, quarterfinals, right-hand side of your screen. And about to be far lane when they leave the line. That's Rick Stubbins up against Andreas Savlanos. And it's Rick Stubbins making no mistake at all. Again, due to the tricky racetrack here in Hockenheim, not all the power going in these bikes. They're roughly, would you believe, a second off the elapsed times they would normally run. They normally run similar elapsed times to pro stock bikes. And pro stock bikes have got slick tyres and wheelie bars as well. So your semi-finals are going to be Sotris Tsiris against Eric Gruber and Graham Bouchin and Rick Stubbins on the other side. So it's Eric Gruber on the bike in the right-hand lane, and it's our friend all the way from Greece, Sotris Tsiris. And Sotris, no trouble whatsoever, cruises through at an 8.81. These aren't elapsed times you'd normally expect to be winning with in Super Street Bike. Eric Gruber gets very close to the centre line and wisely backs out of it. So it's going to be Greece one half of the final. The other half will definitely be from the UK. It's just whether it's going to be nearest to the camera. Graham Bouchin furthest away. Rick Stubbins. This could be a very, very close race. They've both been in the low 8s. But by the looks of it at the moment, Rick Stubbins got the better handle of the racetrack. He's a few bike lengths in front, goes 8.06. Quickest time we've seen so far in eliminations. Graham Bouchin with an 8.27. Really good effort, but just sadly not quite quick enough. So Greece against the UK in the Super Street Bike final. So it is Sotris Tsiris up against Rick Stubbins. Rick Stubbins again in the far lane. You can tell throughout the day here at Hockenheim that's been the lane of choice for everybody who wants to go fast and win. We've had a few wins in the left-hand lane, but not that many. For Great Britain, the UK, Rick Stubbins, 8.12. Again, superb performance and great tuning from him. And Sotris in the near lane just not got enough grunt in the bike to beat Rick Stubbins. So Rick takes the lead in the Super Street Bike Cup for this year. Graham Bouchin, second place. Well, the Super Twin Monsters are here with us as well in Hockenheim. First round pairings coming up just about now. That right there, I was going to say on the other side of the racetrack, Samu Kampanen made the final in Finland, but unfortunately that got rained out. His teammate with Nate Gagnon. Nate's been running real well this weekend. Up against, in the near lane, Roman Sixter from the Czech Republic. Now, Roman ran his first ever 7-second run this weekend, qualified very well. Look at that from Samu, smokes the tyre from one end to the other, but it's not enough to take the win against Roman Sixter. My goodness, that was a little too lively. We look at this again, Samu actually leaning off to the side of the bike, drifting it all the way from one end to the other. And as a result of that, we do actually get a win in the left-hand lane for Roman Sixter. First time he's qualified, first ever round win. A lot of congratulations to that team. They've been trying hard for so many years. This time round, it's Germany in the form of Christian Jaeger right there. That's his crew backing him up after the burnout. Right-hand side of the racetrack, Ismo Mainpar overpowers the track. No such trouble at all for Christian Jaeger. Nice soft settings on the bike. Goes 7.33, 285 kilometers per hour. And he is through into the semi-finals at his home race. You can just see way too much power being applied that the racetrack can handle in Ismo Mainpar's lane. Much easier, if you will, if you can ever easily ride a Super Twin bike. That's it. We knew this weekend was going to be a wild one when Erzurbacher's riders Lawrence Stobel, first rider down the racetrack, smoked the rear tyre from one end to the other, drifted it from side to side all the way down, still ran a mid-8, unfortunately didn't qualify, but we knew it was going to be a tough weekend. Far side of the racetrack, that's Nate Gagnon, that is Matti Vähäsaari on his brand new bike. But Matti, again, left-hand lane, bites another one. Tyre smoke. Nate Gagnon, very consistent, quickest run of the weekend so far in Super Twin with a 7.01. Yeah, Matti got out on him off the start line, but Nate Gagnon, as he's done all summer, superior job of riding, keeping the bike stuck to the racetrack. And once again, he's through to the semis.
It's a tough track, there's barely any traction, but we're trying to just maintain some, you know, get out of the hole a little bit better.
So, Hans Olaf Olstad, the brand new bike he calls Thunderstruck. It's a supercharged Super Twin, which is exactly what that man there has as well. That's Job Hazen, and Job in the far lane was one of the first guys to get down the racetrack properly in qualifying. Spins the tyre again on the Zodiac bike. It will be just, by that much. If you factor in again reaction times, Hans-Olaf Ostad won that by an absolute whisker. Well, let's get some thoughts from Nate Gagnon on how his weekend's gone so far.
Well, Nate, so far this weekend you seem to have the measure of the racetrack and the quickest run as well.
I don't know where I found it, but it must have been in my sleep somewhere. I come up with a good idea and it seems to be working. So, yeah, I pulled this one out of my derriere for sure because I changed everything. You know, the tune-ups that I've been running in the past 4 or 5 years, and nothing made sense here. And I just come up with a couple of ideas last night in the night show. It worked in the night show, so I brought it out this morning and it worked again.
Well, Nate is going to be going up against Hans-Olaf Ostad. Roman Sixter up against the pride of Germany, Christian Jaeger. So the first pairing we're going to see, that man right there, Christian Jaeger, against the White Knight from the Czech Republic. First time he's ever qualified, let alone been past the first round. New territory for Roman Sixter, but sadly not new territory for anyone in the left-hand lane. Smokes the tyre again on the launch. It will be Christian goes through with the first 6 of the weekend, 6.95. That's a lot more like it, 289 kilometres an hour, excuse me. See the riding job Christian's doing just to keep it between the lines. And for Germany and all of his sponsors, including DeWalt, it will be a German in one half of the final. Who's going to be meeting him? Thunderstruck, Hans-Olaf Ostad. Brand new bike built by Puma Engineering in the Netherlands. Far side of the racetrack, Nate Gagnon. Lightning quick off the line, no problems at all for the Canadian. And a 7.14, not bad at all for Nate.
7-1, you're not going to get lane choice for the final, but you're in the final. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, well, we're just happy to be there. I mean, it's a tricky track, so there's nothing you really do about it. It's really tricky off the hole here, and down the top end slippery too, so we're just going to go in there and do our best, and we're just racing ourselves. And
I must admit, you probably couldn't believe it as well when right in front of you, Christian went 6.9. That's quite stout.
We were trying to do the first 6 of the day, but of the weekend actually, but it didn't work out. But great event so far, good fans and stuff. Like I said before, just awesome, and we're having fun.
Fun is the most important thing, but will they have fun after racing Christian Jaeger? We're about to find out. Okay, so here we go then. From Vancouver Island in the west coast of Canada, it is Nate Gagnon, the big kids racing team, against Christian Jaeger with all of the home support behind him. First time he's ever been to the final here at Hockenheim. Didn't actually qualify 1 year ago today, and here he is 1 year later in the final. Nate Gagnon with a tricky left-hand lane. Oh, and Nate must have been thinking about getting down that tricky left-hand lane as well. He red lights. It will be Christian Jaeger taking the win, but he's not taking it easy. 6.86, 306 kilometres an hour. That will be low ET of the weekend and the first win for Christian Jaeger.
Christian, you did it. A win for the home crowd. It was almost a shame that you were at the other end of the racetrack because the crowd were going mad down here.
Yeah, hopefully I can see later on the TV on the recording, but I can think about going crazy.
And the quickest and fastest run of the weekend as well in the final.
Yeah, it's very good, and it's very good for my points to step up to I hope for 4th place or 3. We will see the next days.
So you're going to try for the rest of the season?
Yeah. We want all the first 4. So that's my plan for this year.
Well, the German flag flying high here at Hockenheim. Nate Gagnon still in the points lead by a bunch, but Christian Jaeger with that win moves into 3rd place. Well, we're now going to show you some highlights from the world famous night show here at Hockenheim. Well, that was what the night show was all about. It was spectacular indeed. These are some of the qualifying runs from our other FIA classes that didn't compete on race day. The racetrack deemed to be not in good enough condition to actually race all out with top fuel dragsters. You can see here, left-hand side of the racetrack, and Intermercular, right-hand side, that's Patrick Pears from Sweden. They actually ended up running the cars with throttle stops on, sadly, just to get down the racetrack, but they still do get qualifying points, and it still goes all towards that important end-of-season FIA trophy. Far side of the racetrack, or right-hand side as it is now, Jani Ahonen, who was denied the chance to run in the final in Finland by the rain, out alongside Chris Andrews. And a couple of times the throttle stops did come off, the cars just blazed the tyres all the way down. So that's Jani Ahonen running through. Erzurbacher's crew looking as cool as ever. Up against Mickey Kagarad in this qualifying side-by-side run. That's Erz on the left-hand side of your screen. One of the only 2 races that he's making this summer, sadly. Defending European champ from last year. Erz is on the right-hand side of your screen now. And there you can see the difference between throttle stop and no throttle stop. Erz blazes them all the way through 1,000 foot. The crowd absolutely loved it, though. It was a great, great show. And we're going to finish up the Top Fuel qualification runs with our 2 leaders for this summer. Jari Halonen right there, having a career summer in one of Ruhrfield's Top Fuel dragsters, number 2 in points at the moment. Nearest the camera, that's Risto Puutiainen. Once again, Risto, for the first time ever, won an FIA event. He won the main event at Santa Pod Raceway. He also ran round 2 at Tierp Arena in Sweden. But Risto blazes the tyres off the line as well. And both of them trickled through to a 6.72 for Risto, 7 flat for Jari. And that's how the points looked after eliminations weren't run at Hockenheim. Risto still in the lead by just over 60 points from Jari Halonen. Okay, qualifying moments from FIA Pro Stock now, just in the left-hand side of the racetrack there. That was Ulf Varghester, and Ulf went 8.66. He did tell me afterwards that his crew chief told him it was a 6.66, but he lied, definitely. So 8.66, far side of the racetrack, Michael Colleen. Near side, Mats Jakobsen with his first trip to Hockenheim with the Pontiac GTO, but the traction levels on the racetrack sadly not sufficient to support most of the door cars. That was Thomas Lindström. Thomas is still in the points lead at the moment, coming into this race, looking to go out with a points lead as well. This paired in qualifying with Jimmy Orland, but sadly Jim couldn't run the car to its full potential down the racetrack. Thomas Lindström on that run had trouble staging, so got pushed away. Ulf Varghester once again, the 4-sail Dodge Avenger of Michael Scherquist. And Ulf trickles through once again. They did really try as hard as they could to get these cars off the start line. This is Thomas Lindström with his final run to get a qualifying elapsed time. But sadly not representative of what they could do. So they leave with qualifying points. Thomas Lindström still with a nearly 40-point advantage over defending champ Jimmy Orland. Well, a couple more classes to go. This is FIA Pro Mod, the MPM car in the far lane. Right there, David Vector from the Netherlands had a great time at Santa Pod Raceway earlier on in the year, was #1 qualified, down in the 6.1s for the first time ever. Nearest to the camera, hometown driver Marco Mariochat. And Marco, again, unfortunately not to put down all the power of that car. This is Robert Houston from the Netherlands. Robert with a huge burnout, and then the car got completely sideways. You can see smoke pouring off the tyres. Robert, unfortunately, that pendulum effect just starts and gets a little too much for him as the car noses into the barrier. The barrier or the car weren't too badly damaged, but most importantly, neither was Robert. The crowd giving him a big cheer. But unfortunately, Robert rather devastated after that accident. So we do hope to see Robert again sometime soon. One of our personal favourite drivers, definitely. Far lane, Bruno Barder, winner of the main event, up against Mickey Gulquist from Sweden. Both of them trying as hard as they can, but the car's just fishtailing under power. You can see Bruno nearly goes across the centre line into Mickey's lane. And any time Mickey tries to give it a dab of throttle, unfortunately, it gets out of shape. That is Bert Ove Olofsson with the Impala. Got to the semi-finals in Finland a few weeks ago. Got beat by Freddie Fagerström, the guy that he built the truck for. But Bert Ove, that was his qualifying run. Now, as the day wore on the Saturday, they did get 3 attempts at the racetrack. A few drivers did come out a few times. That's Freddie Fagerström as well from Sweden with the world's quickest pickup truck, just not today, unfortunately. Lots of shake for him off the start line. Mickey Gallquist taking it as easy as he possibly can down the right-hand lane and manages about a mid-7. Well, Bruno Bardi, your points leader again with another tyre-spinning, fish-tailing run. And after qualifying points are allocated, it will be Bruno who leaves with the points lead over Mickey Gallquist, but Mickey's less than 1 round behind. And last but not least, sadly for today's show, a couple of qualifying moments for Top Methanol Funny Car. We're showing you all of this, guys, so that we can actually keep you up to date with the points championships in each of our professional classes. Like I said, sadly they didn't race on Sunday, race day here at Hockenheim. They do get qualifying points allocated for the runs that they did make. So Leif Andreasen with the DSAB Monte Carlo, tuned by Steve Harker all the way from Australia. Leif goes to 683, was actually #1 qualifier with that number, 385 kilometers an hour. That was Jürgen Nagel with the Camaro from Germany. Similar problems for him and just about everyone else in the cars. The only class to race were Top Methanol Dragster. You saw how they got on, lots of tyre smoke for them as well. But final 2 races of the season will be close between Leif Andreasen and Danny Bellio. Very, very close on points.
So that's it from the Hockenheim ring. It's been a great weekend, but it hasn't been without its problems.
Yeah, sadly it hasn't. We didn't get to see all the normal great racing we normally would from our FIA classes. We got to see Top Methanol Dragster. Dennis Harberman won that in great fashion. Just a real shame about the track conditions this weekend, meaning some of the other classes couldn't run, but real positive. UEM bikes, great show, great action as well. Ian King winning the great Top Fuel bike final over Steve Willett. Also, Christian Jaeger winning one for the home crowd with the Super Twins, and Frederick Friedland running down in the 7-1s in Pro Stock bikes. So those are the real positives from the weekend. Also, I'm sure the track will be in much better condition when we come back here once again.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.